Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be going over method 2 of how to factorize cubics and find their solutions. So in the last video we went over the first method, which involved polynomial division, but it can be a bit confusing sometimes even though it is efficient. So if you don't really like that method so much, I'd recommend looking at this method because it's a method I use a lot and I find a lot easier to work with. So this involves factoring but in a different way. So let's start. So first thing we have to do is trial and error to find the first factor again. And I know it isn't very mathematical, but it's the only way to get the first factor without using the cubic formula that's efficient. So what we're going to have to do is substitute values. So let's say f of x is equal to this function, so x cubed minus 5x squared plus 8x minus 4. And we want f of x to be equal to 0. So that would show that we have a factor. So let's start with the first one that I said we should use, f of 1, which is equal to 1 cubed minus 5 times 1 squared plus 8 times 1 minus 4, which is equal to 1 minus 5 plus 8 minus 4, which is equal to 1 minus 5 is negative 4 plus 8 is 4 minus 4 is 0. So this is also equal to 0. So this means that x minus 1 is a factor. So now what we have to do is find the other two factors. And this is where the method starts to get a bit different. So I'm just going to write this equation down here. So this is equal to x minus 1, which is a factor, times ax squared plus bx plus c. And you might be wondering, whoa, where did that come from? But if you think about it, you need to multiply the first degree term, since this is only to 1 power of x. You need to multiply it by something with a second degree, or a squared, in order to get a cubic. So actually, we can already work out our values of a and c very easily, as when you multiply this out, this expression out, you actually end up with only one term that has x cubed in it, which is the first term, when you multiply x by ax squared. So given that ax cubed, which is x times ax squared, is the only thing with x cubed in it, and we have a term x cubed in this final thing, we can equate it to x cubed to give us a is equal to 1. So we know already going into this that we only have x squared in the and not a coefficient with x squared. However, we can also work out the value of c. The only term that gives us this constant value of negative 4 is when we multiply the constant of the first one by the constant of the second one. So negative 1 times c in this case. So negative c is going to be equal to negative 4, which means that c is equal to 4. So again, we found another constant. So, oops, let me just erase that. So we know that c is equal to 4. And just like that, we only have one variable to solve for, which is much easier to do. Now, the variable b is a little bit hard to solve for. We need to actually expand this entire thing in order to get it. So when we expand this thing over here, we get x cubed plus bx squared plus 4x minus x squared minus bx minus 4. So if we collect like terms, we get x cubed plus b minus 1x squared plus 4 minus bx minus 4. Now all that's left for us to do is start comparing the two equations. We know that x cubed minus 5x squared plus 8x minus 4 is actually equal to this over here because they're just rewritten in two different ways. So we need to make sure that the value of b we choose satisfies all the conditions of this equation over here. So given that we have negative 5 as a coefficient of x squared, that means that b minus 1, which is a coefficient of x squared on the other side, must also be equal to negative 5. So b minus 1 is equal to negative 5. That means b has to be equal to negative 4. But we can always check this result because sometimes you might make a silly mistake and then it won't work for the other value, and that's what we need to check. So we know that the coefficient of x on the left-hand side is 8. while on the right-hand side, it's 4 minus b. So 4 minus b has to equal 8, which means that negative b is equal to 4, and b is equal to negative 4, as we have shown with the other coefficient of the 1 of x squared. So in both cases, we got b is equal to negative 4, which means that we have the right value of b. So that means, if we're writing this out, x cubed minus 5x squared plus 8x minus 4 is equal to, well, our first factor is x minus 1. So it's equal to x minus 1 times, and then if we import our value b over here, we get x squared minus 4x plus 4. So now all we need to do is factor out x squared minus 4x plus 4 in order to get our other two solutions. So x squared minus 4x plus 4 is actually x minus 2 squared. So our solutions are, well, or rather the equation can be written as x minus 1 times x minus 2 squared. So solutions are x equals 1 or 2. So in this case, we only have two solutions because one of them is a repeated root. We've got a root that comes in twice. So that's the other method for how you might solve for a cubic equation. And personally, I prefer this method because it's less foolproof. It may be more tedious, but it's harder to mess up on than polynomial division. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.